Hello everybody, hope you're doing well. Now I wanted to do a very quick video on some truth, and I've entitled this, "The Truth Shall Set You Free, but first it will piss you off." The last thing I want to do right now is to give any more kind of fear, because that's being taken care of in the media. I want to provide some really enlightening information, and in order to do that, I think we need to understand some truths. And it's all about knowing this truth so we can then heal ourselves. All I care about is having the right information in front of people so we can heal ourselves, so we can reverse chronic illness, so we can reverse incurable illness. And until we know the truth, most people are going to feel disempowered around their health because they think there's just one way of doing things. And a few days ago, I posted a video by Dr. Shiva, who is running for Senate. And this video has had almost 4 million views now. And I shared it, and I'm so happy that he's done this because he's sharing some really cool stuff. And he's talking about the deep state, and he's exposing it for what it is. And I invite you to have a look at it. It's just 25 minutes long after I do this talk. But before I do that, I'm going to read out his quote, and then I'm going to relate it to the history of modern medicine as we know it today and why it is standing in the way of people from healing themselves. So 1 second, I'm just going to read out his quote because this is very relevant to what's happening today. As an MIT PhD in biological engineering who studies and does research nearly every day on the immune system, the coronavirus fear-mongering by the deep state will go down in history as one of the biggest frauds to manipulate economies, suppress dissent, and push mandated medicine, meaning vaccines. So, because that's going to come. This is such a powerful thing he said. And he also talks about a triangle of freedom and truth and health. That's what he's really pushing forward. How massive my hand is. He wants people to have freedom, and he wants people to know the truth, because once we have the truth, we then have health. And this is one reason why I have often talked about the history of the medical industry to expose corruption so people understand when we should be seeking the help from medical professionals, because naturally they absolutely have their place. It's just in the treatment of illness and dis-ease, they're not actually trained to help us. So, or at least help us to heal. And in order for us to heal, we must know the truth, because unless we know that the system's broken, we'll continue to use a system that is broken. And over the coming days, weeks, I'm going to be doing some talks on the current situation, which is going to be very, very different to what we see in the mainstream. And this is something I'm very passionate about, purely from my own work, which has been in health and wellness and healing for 5 years, helping people with their immune system. The primary focus is the immune system. If anyone has chronic inflammation, that basically means the immune system is suppressed. And every symptom that we have, every name given to a symptom is just a symptom of this thing called chronic inflammation, which suppresses the immune system. Call it eczema, call it asthma, call it diabetes, call it gout, call it arthritis, call it osteoporosis, call it multiple sclerosis, call it fibromyalgia. It's all suppression of the immune system. So why are we being told all of these things are genetic, and why are we giving all drugs all the time for them, you know? And since we can relate to stories, I'm going to give you a very quick story on my own personal life so you can relate. For the best part of 30 years, I suffered from very bad eczema. And I was always given the same treatments by my doctor, which meant it would always come back. It was a temporary solution. And there was one particular time, oh, by the way, every form of that treatment was toxic. And I've got pigmentation on my skin. I've lost, the skin color in various parts of my body from the overuse of steroids. Harmful, horrible, horrible things. Antibiotics to clear up my skin, but destroy the gut. 70 to 80% of the immune system is located in and around the gut. And it can take your body to repair about a year from one course of antibiotics, which is 6 days. And then immunosuppressants or horrible prescription moisturizers for 30 years. And I got curious about this in my teenage years. And there was one particular time when I was sat opposite my doctor. I had this horrible flare-up. It was all over my body. And I was sat there and he examined me and he went back to his computer. And he looked at his computer and then looked back at me, looked at his computer and then back at me. And he was like, he just said, "Are you allergic to penicillin?" And I said, "What's that?" He said, "Antibiotics." I said, "I don't think so." And he prescribed me antibiotics. And he said, "Do you want some more Betnovate?" And he looked back at his screen and then back at me. And I was like, "Yeah, sure, that's the steroid cream. More Diprobase, that's the horrible moisturiser. Yeah, I'll have some of that." And I left with the usual prescription. But I sat there thinking, something's not adding up. Is he just cross-referencing my symptom with a drug name? Like, I was about 15. And I was like, so what was going on here? And that's the only treatment I ever got. And it wasn't until I researched the condition that my father had before he suffered this stroke that I thought, holy shit, excuse me for swearing, whatever. This condition that he had was completely reversible. His stroke was avoidable. That's why I wrote The Vitality Secret, because I went on this crazy mission to find out precisely what this whole condition was all about. I realised not only was his stroke completely avoidable because the inflammation is reversible easily and only holistically. You cannot take a drug and reverse chronic inflammation. It's impossible because the drugs themselves can cause inflammation, the very thing you want to heal if you want to get rid of a symptom. So I realised almost by accident that my eczema was the same as a result of the same underlying cause that he'd had since a very young age, around the age of 12. He had asthma, high blood pressure, stroke, all reversible, or the strokes aren't reversible, but the underlying condition is reversible, the asthma is reversible. We're not told that, are we? And then, of course, his stroke was avoidable because you can reverse chronic inflammation only and only without drugs, only holistically. So I discovered that the eczema I'd had my whole life was avoidable. All I had to do was change the environment in my body, physically, mentally, emotionally, and the eczema goes away. Even now, I can't say it's cured because if I don't follow my own protocol, if I go and put toxins in my body, if I go and eat gluten or dairy, it flares up like crazy. Or if I have too much alcohol, it will flare up. It's an indication, it's a symptom of inflammation. So why was I prescribed these medications or these horrible, nasty treatments for 30 years? Well, it goes back to the training of medical professionals. And this is another big aha moment. And this is, the first aha moment is every single symptom has an underlying cause. Well, there's basically a cause, and there's a problem, and then there's a symptom. Think of a tree. I've got this in my webinar that I did the other day. But there's causes right at the bottom in the roots, if you can imagine a tree. Causes, problem, symptom. And your symptom is basically dependent on your genetic code. It gets you your weakest link. But the cause creates the problem, which then creates the symptom. So the cause is basically toxins and trauma, which leads to chronic inflammation. That's the biggest aha moment I've ever had. Every symptom, same underlying root cause, or same underlying cause, and then the actual root cause is quite different from person to person. So the second aha moment was understanding that doctors are trained a certain way, and it's because of something significant that happened in 1910. And we are going to see this unfold before our eyes. Everyone is going to know this history very, very soon. I wrote about it in The Vitality Secret. I can't wait for the whole world to know this because people will stop taking drugs. They will stop going to their doctors. They will stop going to oncologists beyond the diagnosis, and they will start to take their power back so they can heal themselves. And this, you might see the passion in me. I want everyone to know this because it is so freeing. It's dark at first, but it's so freeing because you then start to go down the truth train. You get on the truth train, you're like, oh my God, the body can do this. You can do this, you can reverse illness, the body can heal anything, but we have to know the truth first. So here goes. Late 1800s, early 1900s, lots of natural approaches to medicine. Medicine used to help the body to heal. There's a big difference between medicine and medication. So, medicine would involve naturopathic medicine, medical herbalists, homeopathic doctors, various eclectic herbal type medicines, which would trigger the body's healing mechanisms. Remarkably intelligent machine we are. The human body is so effing powerful, it's insane. And medicine would enable the body to heal itself. In 1910, something changed. There were two business moguls and philanthropists, ironically. The Carnegie and Rockefeller Foundations partnered, and they partnered with the American Medical Association. And they saw the integration or the commission of what's called the Flexner Report of 1910. What this did was it eliminated all competition to patent petrochemical medical education. In layman's terms, it got rid of all competition for the course material taught to doctors. And donors from the Carnegie and Rockefeller Foundation would sit on boards of medical schools throughout the US, and they would donate sums of money, and in response for their donations, they would be sitting on the boards of medical schools and be steering the curriculum taught to doctors to make it about drugs that they were manufacturing, the petrochemical drugs that they were manufacturing. In other words, by showering massive sums of money into these medical schools throughout the US, they started to influence the course material taught to doctors. I've got a timeline in my book, but between 1910 and 1950, almost every single natural school was shut down. Homeopathic colleges were shut down, naturopathic schools were shut down. Everything was shut down in over 40 years. And by 1950, if a doctor graduated without a Flexner-approved medical qualification, an MD degree, he or she would not get a job anywhere, and it's remained the same ever since. And this is why today, doctors, oncologists, dermatologists, psychiatrists, they are all trained the same way. They have this training so biased towards prescription drug therapy, and why they know little to nothing about nutrition, if anything. And it's hit the UK headlines that they receive no nutrition training. In the US, less than a third of medical schools in the US require any training in nutrition. And some doctors will even laugh in your face when you start to talk about nutrition, healing the body and strengthening the immune system and getting rid of cancer. Of course, it's got a big part to play. You know, I don't want to talk about cancer, but cancer is often talked about as a disease of the immune system. What was Dr. Shiva talking about? Everything that we've got going on right now is a problem with the immune system. It's not the virus, it's the immune system. So we have, once we know this history of why doctors are trained this way, we can then go, holy choice, wow, okay, so we can go, right, I'll take the diagnosis, but I'm not going to go with the prognosis because I understand how you're trained now. I consider, and this is not to disrespect doctors, because I love doctors, I have friends who are doctors, friends of the family who are doctors. It's just that we're the end user of the medical system, so we get to understand the history of their training, or we put ourselves in a very tricky situation. I've interviewed people over the years. I help people reverse illness myself with no medical training, and I interview people who reversed incurable illnesses according to Western medicine. Things like lupus, Lyme, multiple sclerosis, fibromyalgia, Crohn's disease, various forms of cancer, gastroparesis, paralysis of the stomach, endometriosis, so many different things people are reversing, and they have to turn their back on Western medicine. If they continued down the Western medicine route, some people would be dead by now, and other people would be very, very sick. So, for example, the lupus interview, this girl, Nick, she lost a friend to lupus who was on about 20 medications, I believe, every single day, and she died. And Nick went, well, I'm not doing that. And she went on her own healing path, and she got completely better. Anti-inflammatory protocol all the way. Not just food, but everything else. So I want you to know this, because this history, everyone's going to know about it soon. And I'd like you to know about it sooner. Because if you are taking any medications, or if you know anyone else who is taking medications, the chances are that you're making yourself sicker. And I don't think that's a very good thing to do. Your symptoms might go away, but what's happening is the root cause is getting worse and worse and worse and worse. But you're popping pills going, oh, my symptoms are fine, but we're not addressing the underlying cause. And that's what I'm all about. That's what Dr. Shiva's all about. We've got a whole nation of people with a suppressed immune system thinking that they have a genetic disease. Bullshit. We know about the science of epigenetics now. The science of epigenetics says it's the environment in the body that signals the genes. It's not the genes that trigger the illness. It's the environment in the body that signals the genes. And if we have a suppressed immune system, guess what's going to happen? It's almost like the genes are expressed at our weakest link. And in my case, that was eczema. For someone else, asthma. For someone else, diabetes. For someone else, type 2, whatever name we want to give it to. So I think we need to understand that, firstly, understand the history, as Dr. Shiva is talking about. We understand the truth behind the medical industry, the medical establishment. Because once we get that, we're like, okay, now I have freedom to take it upon myself to be my own personal best health advocate and free myself of this illness, free myself of the symptoms. And I really do think it's very freeing. I don't think it's a fearful thing to know this. I think it's just the way it is. And we can also acknowledge the pharmaceutical industry for providing life-saving remedies. And my own parents wouldn't be alive today if it wasn't for these, drugs. And some of my closest friends wouldn't be around today if it wasn't for drugs. It's just in the treatment of common illness and dis-ease, we need to understand their training so we can take our power back and heal ourselves of just about anything. And that is what the human body is capable of doing. We just need to stop looking at the news. The media, I'm going to be sharing some stuff which is going to be very, very contrary to what people are seeing in the media about this whole virus thing that's going around at the moment. And I see the media like this. Look at this hand, don't look at this hand, look at this hand, don't look at this hand, look at this hand, don't look at this hand. Lots of stuff is happening behind the scenes. And some of it's actually really quite exciting. And some of it's going to blow your mind. And Dr. Shiva's interview, he exposes the deep state. He's exposing what's happening right now. And you know what? I am excited for what's happening now because everyone's going to know the truth very soon. And I just wanted to start with that history of medical industry because once we understand the corruption in just that one piece, how the whole medical industry went from medicine to medication and a recurring revenue business model, we can then start to think if they can get it so monumentally wrong with our health, the most important thing in the world, you just imagine what they can do with other areas of other industries, like the telecoms industry has 7 times the lobbying power of the pharmaceutical industry, apparently. And if you're familiar with the pharmaceutical lobbying power, you'll know how much power they have over government. And the telecoms industry, and I'm talking EMFs and 5G, I went crazy on this last year and people are really talking about it now. News stations aren't allowed to talk about the connection between 5G and coronavirus right now. They're saying it's all conspiracy and they're literally not allowed to. Why would they not be allowed to? Probably because there is a link. So there's stuff to come. I wanted to share this with you, not because it's about fear, it's about liberating, it's about, there's so much cool stuff happening right now and all I care about is people getting healthy again, and we need to understand the history of the medical industry to get healthy again. It's in my book if you want to read it. I wrote that in 2016. The second edition's out soon. And I do have a program all about the immune system right now. I've got a 21-day program, and then I've got a full 8-week program called the Resilience Code. So let me know if you're interested in that. Please share this if you found it interesting and you want other people to know it. It's a very important piece of history that we all really ought to learn about. And then we can take our power back, stop taking these ridiculous medications and live a life rich in vitality. Thank you for watching. That was way longer than I thought it would be. Please share. Any questions? I don't think so.